Welcome back, hard forkers, and welcome back to you, Dunstan.
Hi,
My good friend.
long time no see.
It's been a few months actually, and I've sort of committed to making a bit more Bitcoin content. I've had a few complaints from my Bitcoin fans that I've sort of diverged into covering Ethereum and everything happening there, and we certainly will be talking about your involvement in that space in the next episode. But tonight, Dunstan, I want to talk Bitcoin and only Bitcoin. Is that okay with you?
Oh, definitely. That's the only thing I want to talk about most of the time.
Very good, sir. Very good. People that follow this channel, I'm sure you're familiar with Dunstan. If you're not, the first time you're seeing him, he's absolutely a Bitcoin OG. You've been here from right from the beginning. Many of my followers sort of call you the man of mystery. You tend to talk in riddles, Dunstan, so I'm going to attempt to pin you down on a few things tonight. And typically not typically, the only thing people are really interested in is the price of goddamn Bitcoin. Let's start there, and then we'll go a little bit macro. Wow, price action, man. I saw you posted about a week ago that you were selling.
Yep.
I think it was what, 19.5.
And I also posted a couple of weeks ago before that I sold, and the price obviously tanked to like 16 plus K from 19 plus. So I was giving people a lot of warning on my Facebook and my socials, but apparently they didn't listen.
Dunstan, we had a very long chat offline the other day, and you gave me a figure of 30K in December. Are you still sticking to that?
Yep, definitely. So
really?
I'm thinking of a 30K BTC price on December. At least close to 30K. The closer it is, the better, because I have 2 pizzas waiting. But I lost last year's bet when we are betting, so I should not try betting with people, man.
Hey, look, respect. You're here on the channel throwing out a price call. So what, by Christmas, or when are you seeing 30K for BTC?
Hopefully by Christmas. I think it's going to be by Christmas. But like what I said, usually do most of my calls or give some warning about the Bitcoin prices and so on in my socials, in my Facebook and so on. So yeah, they can go there and take a look. They can also see the videos, but usually by the time we make one of these videos, right, they are fucked.
Look, you're a bit of a mysterious character. I mean, one thing I will say about you, I've gone back through our previous videos, and I think the last one we did was whether PayPal were coming into the space. And when I rewatched that, you're 100% correct. The way it played out. We've had numerous private chats on some of your calls, and I'll give you this, mate. They do tend to come to fruition. So could you maybe elaborate on why you think we're heading to 30K?
We are hitting 30K because there's a lot of retail and institutional FOMO. But it's first the institutions that got FOMO in, then the retail got FOMO in. Usually there's supposed to be a dump before Christmas. I suspect the dump would be slightly earlier rather than near the Christmas season. And I'm expecting a pump around to 30K for the Christmas season because of the FOMO.
What, from primarily retail or
yep.
institutional?
By now, it's retail FOMOing.
You think they're here, do you?
They're here. I've had like people on the streets or people who have watched some of the videos, people from Korea, they know about my existence. They messaging me and asking me, like, is it time to buy Bitcoin? When I get random people like that asking me about Bitcoin, I know retail FOMO is here.
Well, look, okay. I mean, look, let's get a little bit more macro. I'm going to come back to your 30K call in a moment, but let's go macro for a moment. As you know, I've been creating Bitcoin content for over 4 years now. For me, the big difference is I'm having a lunch this week with somebody here in Singapore that's got $500 million under management from a number of family offices, who wants to learn about Bitcoin. And I'm sure you're getting hit up by similar people. If I go back to 2016, it was was friends and family, people trying to understand what the hell was going on here. It's an entirely different landscape, but if we go really macro here and we look at what Bitcoin is, and let's try and explain this to maybe people that are learning, whether it's the retail investor or some of these institutional players that I know a lot watching this channel now. For me, really what Bitcoin is it's guaranteeing that investor scarcity. It's got that high mobility as opposed to gold. You can cross a border with it, completely different to gold in that respect. Very low correlation to other assets, which and the current environment is hugely important. And it also provides, protection from confiscation and currency depreciation, especially in emerging markets. So with those attributes, we're fully aware of those. Do you think Bitcoin's more important in emerging economies or our economy here in Singapore or the US? What are your thoughts on that?
Depending on how bad the whole economy would go, actually, I think Bitcoin is important for all economies. Why I say that is because most of the traditional markets and so on, including the politicians, the financial guys, the bankers, the central banks, the billionaires and so on, right? They are now controlling the people one way or another, controlling them through debt and so on. And many of these people, they don't have full access to their own bank accounts. Now, I believe that Bitcoin is important for everyone because it is the only asset right now that, if you hold on to it, right, people can't confiscate, they can't stop you from transacting with somebody else. They can call it illegal anytime, anywhere. All the countries can all come together and say that it's illegal. But it can't stop me from transacting with you, Sean.
Yep.
Yeah, the most is, you just did something illegal, but do you know which addresses and which wallets are mine? So it is like the people saying a big fuck you to the to the institutions in that sense. Yeah.
True. I mean, look, it's an interesting. Well, what are we now? We're 18,900, I think, as we're filming this. There's some massive calls out there at the moment, ranging from
300K to like $1 million.
Well, I mean, Wenceslas is calling $1 million. I mean, Paul McAfee, who's locked up in a Spanish prison at the moment, called $1 million. Maybe he's not looking so silly anymore.
But it hit his deadline for him eating his dick on public. So his calls are generally inaccurate to begin with anyway. I mean, I like him. He's a funny person. He has done quite a bit in our space, but still.
Look, I'll come back to a point. I basically, I talked about that, that unconfiscatable nature, and currency depreciation, which, in countries like Argentina, Venezuela, has been so important. Obviously, COVID. And clearly our looming financial crisis in the Western world has massively accelerated the interest in Bitcoin. What do you think is driving this massive interest from the likes of a Michael Saylor? You've got Fidelity at the moment with $4 trillion under management, advising their fund managers to have 3% of funds in Bitcoin. That's freaking huge. Recently, we've had BlackRock, which I believe has the most AUM under management. Larry Fink turned around the other day and he said the hits on their particular website, there were 3,000 searching for how COVID was affecting investments, and 600,000 searching Bitcoin on their website. All these massive players are coming into Bitcoin here. We've had Saylor again today. I think what has he done? He's put another 400 million, I believe, today. But what is the play here? What is the play? How do you see this playing out? I mean, this is This is going macro.
It is. I've been telling people since last year that this year Bitcoin is going macro. I've been warning people again and again, but nobody wanted to listen. I have friends of mine that they believe that people like me are retarded because I went all in on BTC a bit like Didi, but
Yep.
Didi has bigger balls than me. So yeah, but then right, I've been telling people the institutions are in. We even have like our banks, like including Singapore banks, that shut down accounts of cryptocurrency companies and so on, and yet they are in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I tried to open an account with a Singaporean bank here about 3 years ago, and they wouldn't entertain it because I was a crypto company.
Yeah. So this
Now,
is what I'm
ridiculously,
asking.
they're about to sell crypto. So, look, things are changing, and they're changing rapidly. But I'm really trying to understand that macro position. Do you think these macro investors maybe understand? Because, all right, better way to phrase it. What are the negatives that you see for Bitcoin? Because I think there are a few, and maybe we should have a look at some of these. And do you think the big institutions have fully understood that? Because for me, you and I have spoken about this privately many, many times. There's hardcore Bitcoiners actually want to reduce the block size. And they're encouraging everyone to run a full node.
Yep.
Now, this to me flies completely in the face of institutional adoption. It almost feels like we could be in a scenario where, we've had that civil war with, the Bitcoin Cash hard fork and consequently Bitcoin SV. How loud are those key voices, those core devs, those people that have really helped shape Bitcoin? How loud are they now? Where are those people at? I'm not hearing so much from them anymore, but they're important voices. Now, for people that probably have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about here, really what we're talking about is the ability of a government to effectively come in and if no one's running full nodes, to come in and take over miners and effectively shut them down and therefore take control of Bitcoin.
No, they can't. They can't. Firstly, you need to control at least 51% of all the nodes in the Bitcoin blockchain. That's number one. And controlling the mines, right? Controlling these mines, it also means operations and so on. They have to consistently sell the Bitcoin to carry on operating. If not, they're just going to keep on bleeding. That's what the miners are for. So most people believe that the miners have shit tons of Bitcoin and so on, right? But they don't understand that in order to operate these mines, these are hardware. That's a lot of operational costs and like maintenance costs, people and so on. So yeah, so they are not holding on to most of the BTC. I mean, if
what is there a threat to Bitcoin in that respect for you though? Because if you take someone like Luke Dash Jr., very respected figure in the Bitcoin community, he wants to actually reduce the block size. And basically says, we need at least 80% of people running a full node for the network to be secure. Your average person just simply doesn't understand that. Is that an issue for you?
There's no issue actually, and there are so many people running full nodes. We even have satellites up there that that contain the entire blockchain. So if somebody does on the assumption that somebody does a 51% attack, right? All we need to do is to keep everybody on that chain that we want them to be on. The chain that we all agree that is the correct chain. So that's number one security.
Okay.
And yeah, and the next would be it's close to operationally and technologically impossible right now to do a 51% on BTC attack on BTC right now. And remember, if quantum computer does come out, right, we would also have quantum level cryptography.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are a lot of these questions, and they say that BTC is one of the most unsafe stuff and so on. Then I'm like, firstly, let's just take a look.
I mean, the reason I'm bringing this up is, this was quite a big issue. It was the talk of the Bitcoin community. Well, it has been for a long time, but especially, a year ago, when some of these people that were using coin mixes ended up getting very large periods of time in federal prison.
But that's a regulatory risk, you see, and there's nothing wrong using coin mixers, at least to the Bitcoin maximalists like us, because think of it as this way. If you are an extremely rich guy, we take a look at people who own family offices, who own their private funds and so on. Why would they be public about the funding that they have? Well, they want to let people see what sort of wallets, what sort of addresses, or what sort of assets they are holding. So how wrong is that when we are using mixers to enable that to happen? I mean, it just doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, but at the moment, for me, the way I sort of see this playing out, and I guess for some of the audience here, they're probably a little bit confused about what we're talking about here. So, in very basic terms, obviously a blockchain is something you can trace every transaction right back through to its origin. It's quite different to your bank account, where if I send Dunstan $10, he receives that $10. But he can't see what the hell's in my bank account and what the hell I've done for its entire history. With a Bitcoin, he can. If I send Dunstan 0.1 of a Bitcoin, he can say, oh, wow, Sean's got X amount of Bitcoin, and that's what he's done with all and most people, that's a bit lost on most people. So, for me, I see so many positives for Bitcoin, and everyone's very excited at the moment. The institutions are here and they're plowing in, and the price is going up, and happy days. We're throwing a party. I'm just trying to understand from you as a real OG, maybe what some of the hardcore Bitcoiners are thinking at the moment. Is Bitcoin on the track that they want it to be on?
Well, definitely, actually. And we are now starting to build tech where, if it goes out of the address, it's gonna go in a privatized security pool. So these are different from mixers, and we are building it for Bitcoin Ethereum right now. So there are a lot of technological advances that are coming up. These will be for people's safety, because we now see that people will be using Bitcoin to shift large amount of value around the world, including the institutions, including like us OGs, including some of the millionaires. People will be looking at using Bitcoin transactions. And the governments will be looking at trying to use the blockchain to track these transactions. I mean, it's going to be in these two separate situations. But what we are building now is we are building tech to protect to protect the community from such behaviors.
Do you think the institutional players also appreciate that attribute of Bitcoin, that censorship resistance? Do you think they're understanding that?
They don't need to understand. In fact, most of these institutions, I think the only person that I believe who actually understand what Bitcoin is Michael. It's as simple as it is. The rest of them are just financial guys. To them it's just the USD value and the store value and how safe that store value is compared to the other shitty assets that they now own, like property, land, stocks and shares, bonds, and so on.
Yeah. Look, it's a biggie. It's a biggie. I mean, we sort of feel like we're on the cusp here of a complete macro change in economics, right? If we go back to the current system is pretty much my age. The Nixon ended the gold standard in 71, 73, which are arguably depending on what way you look at it, but early 70s effectively. Then we've gone into our current fiat system, which is where governments basically control money. And, in many respects, the management of that fiat currency has just proved very difficult for so many central banks. They've just been tempted to print their way out of the shit. Venezuela, Zimbabwe, the list goes on.
Yeah, including the United States, man. The
Well,
only reason why
here
United States
exactly,
is still okay.
and here's where we are on that one now. So you've got
they're only safe because they are the largest bond market, the largest capital market in the world. The world can't allow it to fail in that sense. But that's the rest of us.
So let's go really macro now. Let's go really, really macro. I mean, obviously money has been more of a function of merchants. So, if you go back to the Medici in the 1600s, Bitcoin sort of feels like a return to that. Money has been removed from state control again.
Yeah, it is.
Do you feel that the battle is yet to happen? Because imagine a 200K Bitcoin. Imagine a $500,000 Bitcoin. Do you really think these state level players will let that threaten their currency? And do you think we could have this epic fight on our hands? At the moment, we're a pimple on their butts. How do you see this playing out?
But Sean, like last year, I forgot which month it was. I was actually doing a video, and I told everyone publicly who watched the video that the war is won. Last year, we have won the war.
Elaborate on that. What do you mean?
Well, technically, Bitcoin has won that war already, the money war. It's just that people hasn't seen the steps that are moving forward. So what they are doing is they are seeing an eventuality and inevitability. And they're just seeing steps that are happening again and again throughout the world. And they would, in time, they would see how this war is already won.
I want you to elaborate on that a bit more. I mean, are you basically saying that at a sovereign level, at a state level,
no, I'm saying that
countries are going to adopt Bitcoin?
Let's take the whole world's worth of value. The whole world's fiat value is gonna all congregate into one single network, which is a Bitcoin network.
Okay, well, look, that's a very interesting point. I mean, at the moment, okay, let's take China, for example. They're light years ahead of what everyone else is doing with Alipay, WeChat.
They don't even need
they're gaining market share globally with their innovation. So, actually, a couple of questions on that. I know you're up on the play of what's going on in China. Obviously, those great innovations that you're seeing there are extremely centralized, and we know the obvious issues that come with that. What place for Bitcoin in China first? Let's discuss that, and we'll move on to.
Well, firstly, right? Do you believe that the Chinese government is that short-sighted that for the past few years they allow China miners to consistently be mining BTC in China because electricity was cheap, because they had access to tech?
No, I strongly suspect they were sitting on an absolute ton of Bitcoin.
Yeah, so that's one of it. Like, is it weird that like most of the funding for the different blockchains, okay, all came from China. I'm not just talking about Tron. I'm not just talking about EOS. It's all the rest of them, including most of the DeFi projects, so like even Uniswap and so on. Most of this funding actually come from China.
Yep.
Chinese company, Chinese VC, Chinese players, and so on. It could be through their other entities. It could be through. And
are you basically saying China is a hell of a lot more forward thinking than the US in its use of fintech?
Yeah, definitely. I've tried integrating some of my tech with some of the banks in the United States. It was a pain in the ass, man. The banking systems, technical system was so antiquated. I was asking myself whether this is a third world country or a first world country.
Mm. But just coming back to the point I raised before, what I'm really not up on the play on what Bitcoin's role in China is. You know, obviously I know what is it, over 40% of the mining of Bitcoin happens in China. Can you, just for people that don't know, what is the average person's ability to buy and use Bitcoin in China?
China?
Yeah.
So the China currently is restricting access to the common retail person or the common layman from buying BTC, USDT, and so on.
Yeah.
They are highly restricting that. So that's happening in China right now.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but when it comes to but it doesn't mean that these services are stopped. Like you know, right? Like one of the largest exchange in the world is Huobi, and Huobi is a Chinese exchange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even exchanges like OKX and so on.
Okay. I mean, look, you know, obviously we've got some currency wars on our hands here. We'll sort of see where Bitcoin sort of slots into that bigger picture. You know,
Yeah, at the end of the day, right? Yeah, it's not a currency war to Bitcoin, because once these currencies fail, or when the people have no choice, like I said before, we always will have two separate markets for Bitcoin. One will be the market in which, you know, the institutions, the regulations, and so on play, or the price of BTC is like, you know, like 20K USD, 30K, and so on.
yeah.
But the other one would be where people are actually transacting because they have no choice. They don't trust the banking infrastructures. They don't trust the regulators. They don't trust like even the merchants and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't trust things like Alibaba. They don't trust like Amazon and such. So this is where these two markets will always exist from now onwards, which is why I say that the war is really won.
Well, look, yeah, let's stay on this topic because, you know, sort of central banks effectively evolved because of war. You know, the Bank of England effectively came about to, you know, to issue bonds to fund a war. And I don't think anyone's under any illusions that we possibly are in the middle of a war at the moment, whether you want
We are in the middle of a war. It's not a currency war and so on.
to.
The countries have been in war for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
It's just that they don't. It is no longer with like weapons. Now the weapons is data. The weapons is with the internet. You know, like how America can shut off the service to Huawei and so on, and espionage, industrial espionage, more importantly, technological espionage, and obviously also a currency thing. Trade wars are happening all around the
So,
world.
do you think the smart investors? Do you think the big institutions are realizing this, and they're putting a percentage of their treasury into Bitcoin because effectively, you know, these currency wars are raging hardcore right now.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, these are institutions. They have shit tons of money. They are not exactly stupid. They might just be stubborn. Like, you know, like maybe BlackRock didn't believe that, you know, Bitcoin is what it is. They just refuse to believe it because, you know.
But Dunster, will there be another war effectively from you know whether you want to call it regional, you know, if there's literally regional versions of Bitcoin where you've got these big institutions who maybe have gone in and taken you know, a decent position in Bitcoin, all of a sudden, you know, a government may push back and go, holy shit, you know, this potentially will debase our our currency. Do you think that's yet to come? Is it on the?
It's on the horizon actually.
Yeah.
But remember, most of these governments are actually paid entities. I always would like something that I've read. Poor people pay taxes. Rich people pay accountants. Wealthy people pay politicians. So this is exactly what is happening right now.
So where are we at? We're at the end of the show. We're gonna loop back to your price call, because the average punter watching this show, that's all they give a shit about. It's you know, I love talking to you. We're talking big picture here, and that's fantastic. You know, we have these bubbles in Bitcoin. I think the average has been, geez, it's been 37% is the average retrace between 215 and 217.
Mm-hmm.
You're calling 30K Bitcoin this year. When do you see a retrace? And do you think we're going to see those sort of percentages again?
We're going to see a
Or do you,
retrace in January and early February before Chinese New Year. As usual, right? It will be like the
that's very
Chinese.
specific, Dunstan, and I
Yeah.
love that sort of call. Can you explain why?
Yeah, the Chinese will want to cash out to spend a good Chinese New Year. It's always been like for the past 7 8 years in BTC. It's just like the West, you don't want to cash out before Thanksgiving, enjoying themselves. So, yeah. So these are general customary trends in that
But
sense.
so who are, you know, look, I know you know the whales. So where is the real action? Who are the people sort of move? You know, we don't, you know, we've heard all the Paul Tudors, the Michael Saylors, the Fidelities, all these big American names. We're here in Asia. Who's playing the game in Asia here, Dunstan? Come on. Well, you know, Novogratz told me that the real action happens in the Asian market, but you never really hear any names. What's your take on that? Where's
Obviously
the
I'm
real
not
power?
gonna,
Who moves the market around? Is it in Asia or
obviously we are not gonna talk about the names of the people.
not the names of the people, but regionally?
Um, well, or maybe don't even bother with regions. You just talk about the fact that, um, whale. Think of whales has a whale, a normal like mammal, and so on. They need to come up to take breaths of air. Like they stay underwater, like deep in the oceans for shit ton periods of time, shit long periods of time, but they still need to come up to breathe. They need to eat. Yeah, so obviously their behaviors are very different from what the current institutions, because the institutions are just fresh in our space, and also what the retail is used to do. Now, just I have a clue for maybe the public itself. Take a look when the margin calls are 80% in any direction, and you see what happens. That's my tip.
Speaking a bit more simple language for people on that one, I think you're on a very interesting chain of thought here.
Yeah, so just take a look at all the margin calls in the different exchanges like CME, BitMEX, Binance, and so on. If it's 80% above, the whale comes.
Okay.
Yep. I think I should not go even clearer than that. Anything else, they should just use their brain and figure out what I just said. Yeah. For those that didn't get it, yeah, it's their problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're long. How do you think these American institutions, which are the ones that are making all the headlines, how do you think they're playing it? Do you think that's a buy and hold, or do you think
They're doing a buy and hold actually.
Yeah.
Because most of them don't even understand our market very well. They keep on making stupid calls. Like, I remember one of them saying that, BTC is like going to be 300,000. I'm like, who are you and what are you and how and what are the numbers or what data do you have to say that it's going to go to 300,000? I mean, how stupid can you be to make an open call like that without even understanding our market? Just because you're an institution, you're used to other assets and so on.
Well, I guess, look, at a macro level, I can understand their rationale for that. If you're comparing it to gold with a $10 trillion, just the absolute sort of standard basics
But
here.
that's the thing. The moment they compare it to gold, right? That's the wrong comparison.
Well, okay, that's an interesting discussion. Let's talk about that. Why is that a wrong comparison?
I mean, what they should be doing is to see how much of fiat's value that has expanded and what's the true fiat value and how much of it, right, is being slowly siphoned into Bitcoin. That's the real value of Bitcoin. It isn't digital gold.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I agree with you on that because, I know let's stay on this one. I mean, I know, a lot of my good friends who, they got a few bucks and they're terrified at the moment. It's effectively a defensive play going into gold. But pretty much 100% of my friends that I know are in gold and definitely also in Bitcoin. And they've actually starting to increase their Bitcoin position now as opposed to their gold position. They're really understanding the benefits over gold.
Right.
So
but
why would
you
you
see,
start?
right? It's a flight. It's a value flight. So the value doesn't. We are not taking value away from gold. We're actually taking value away, right? From collapsing fiat value and collapsing economic value. Now, gold doesn't do that. Gold is more of a stable storage of value in that sense. But Bitcoin was never meant to be a stable store of value.
No, it was meant to be peer-to-peer cash, but that seems to have been forgotten.
Well, it's you see, right? I always like to tell people this when you're reading something, right? You don't read the obvious things that are written there. You read the unsaid, implied messages that are more important. When people read the white paper of Bitcoin, right?
We could go off in a totally different direction right here.
Yeah.
Do we want to do that, or should we stay on the gold narrative?
Yeah. We could stay on any narrative you want.
Exactly, does. I love talking to you. We could talk for hours. I'm just conscious of the audience actually understanding what the fuck we're talking about.
And I'm not, right. You know, I don't give a care what the audience
Wow,
or their level of understanding because
neither do I. It's the early hours of Thursday here, so we'll just wrap away. And if you're enjoying our chat, stay with us. If not, let's see you later. Let's stay with that gold narrative. Do you own gold?
Yeah. So these are my own personal thoughts. I don't think of Bitcoin. I don't think of Bitcoin as digital gold in that sense, because gold is generally stable in value. When I look at Bitcoin, right, I see Bitcoin has a black hole of value.
A black hole of value.
Yeah, it's a black hole. Whatever it comes across, whatever it touches, whatever it's connected to, value gets sucked in.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is what I see it as, and which is the reason why, right? You can't say that gold is going to be like $1 million per how many grams or how many kg of gold, but you can say that like Bitcoin will hit like maybe 100K, then it will hit like 1 million, it will hit 10 million, and so on. But can gold do that? I don't think so.
I mean, look, if the shit absolutely hits the fan, then
yes,
I get the whole.
I don't think
I get the gold thing.
Yeah, I don't get the gold thing, because when shit hits the fan, right, they can't use gold to transact.
No.
But they can use Bitcoin to transact.
Correct.
Which also means that those holding gold, I'd rather you hold food, because most probably food is going to be important and you can transact using food. Just that you can't store very well. But gold is fucked in that sense.
So, we can talk about the evolution of Bitcoin, and ultimately, the beauty of Bitcoin is, it is that asset, that store of value. It's also got its own sort of payment rail, effectively. It's layer 1, 2, 3, and onwards money. It's just fantastic. You and I both love it. Let's get back to the people that are still watching. Well done to you people. 30K by Christmas, Dunstan. How do you see it playing out over the next year to 5 years?
The next year, most probably next year will be 50K per Bitcoin. In 5 years' time, it should hit $1 million. And in 10 years maximum, it should hit 10 mil per
Give
Bitcoin.
me your rationale for $1 million Bitcoin in 5 years.
In 5 years' times, our economy will be so bad that most of the fiat value will have shrunken. And with that shrinking of fiat value, right, people need to transact. That transactional value needs to go somewhere. And I believe that you go to Bitcoin. I mean, you take a look at the amount of fiat in the world, the fiat value, even if we reduce the fiat value to like 10%, since
so it's worth $1 million, but $1 million isn't worth anything.
Yes and no. But I mean, $1 million might still be worth something. I don't think it'll be like Venezuela where the $1 million is like worth like nothing at all. But yeah. And I believe that, $1 million would still be something extremely comfortable to people. Yeah, in that sense, I don't think that.
What would you say to the detractors of BTC that basically say the only value of BTC is for the price to go up, and basically you hear that rhetoric. Oh, you're saying it's going to replace fiat currency, but the only use case is for you to wait till the price goes up and sell it for fiat.
No, but you see, that's why I say that there will always be those two markets, bro. If you're in Venezuela, right, you think fiat is useful to you? No, it's Bitcoin that was useful to you.
Yeah,
it's people like that have never seen or been through or know people that have gone through such stuff.
Yeah,
such oppressive regimes. That's why they say stupid things like that all the time.
Correct. And guess what? All our Western economies are exactly the same place now.
Yeah, I know. They will be in the same shitstorm. You know what? What if I tell you that
we're not quite there yet, but it's coming.
But if I tell you that by January, Trump will re-win the elections in a sense, and America is going to go into their largest civil war that they've never seen in their entire life. Now, what's going to happen?
I don't know. I don't really follow American politics, and that sounds like an apocalyptic scenario. I hope it doesn't happen. If that happens, Dunstan, can I come on the Star Wars ship you have there? And
we just fly away.
Fuck off somewhere.
And that's why Elon wants to go Mars, man.
Dunstan, what are you telling somebody with a few $1,000 that maybe
if it's a few $1,000 that
wants to get into this market? What are you saying? It's not financial advice, people, by the way.
Yeah, and I don't care, man. If people think it's financial advice and they lose money, it's their fucking problem because they didn't hold it long enough. I know that 90% of the wallets that are holding BTC are still in profit. Only 10% of those weak hands that sold are in loss. So but what I'm saying is this, if you have a couple of thousands of dollars, or should I say this, I would recommend, taking a portion of your money monthly and just acquiring BTC monthly. It doesn't matter what price of Bitcoin is, and please don't trade Bitcoin as a layman, as a retail person, because most probably you're gonna get fucked by the institutions and the whales. Just don't trade it. Just acquire and accumulate.
We know that's coming, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah. So just acquire it. Just hold on to it. Just park some cash that you don't need. Even if it's $10, buy the BTC. Just imagine.
This is the whole problem. You say cash that you don't need. The reality is most of the planet's completely freaking broke now.
No, but 99% of my net worth is always in BTC. I'm not like Didi. His is 100%, but mine is 99%. So it's a personal choice, bro.
Mine's more than 100% because I actually borrowed money to go into it.
See, that's the best.
You guys went all in. I did more than that. I went all in and borrowed.
Well, like I say, it will be money that you preferably you don't want to park aside. Yeah, that you don't really need it. Or but of course, I've been telling I mean, just imagine, right? If it was like eight years ago and I told you to buy $10 worth of BTC.
Yeah.
And you kept that stupid $10 worth of BTC. How much would have been by now? You know, these things are all in hindsight and perspective. I didn't bother about it. I just consistently believe that, you know, like Bitcoin is Bitcoin, and whatever the value of Bitcoin is not important, because the value of one Bitcoin is actually one Bitcoin. It was never about a fiat value. It was always about the ability for me to transact anytime, anywhere, and nobody can stop me from transacting.
True that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have a quick look at the price of Bitcoin right now, Dunstan.
Mm-hmm.
We're
18
gonna...
plus, near 19. 18.
Oh, you've got it there, have you?
No, not really. I have a few.
Oh, it's dropping.
Really?
18,800.
Awesome. So now is a good time to go in, actually.
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah.
So here we are on a early Wednesday morning. Yeah, just tell me again. What, you know, 30K from here. That's all it's like an 80% gain in a few weeks. What makes you so confident once again around the show off?
Nah, it's usually my calls when I do betting. When I bet with somebody, most probably it's gonna fail. Yeah, and I did bet like maybe a couple of pizzas and so on with a couple of friends. So that's why
There you go, audience. Dunstan's bet 2 pizzas on the fact Bitcoin will be 30K by Christmas. So you heard it here.
Yeah, you heard the disclaimer, man. And whenever I bet, I generally make bet.
Dunstan, if Bitcoin is 30K by Christmas, then you are a true legend and you know exactly what the hell is going on in this market.
Well, I did make
if not,
the call.
If not, you owe the entire audience 2 pizzas.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring the 2 pizzas to like Sean's place, man. And you all can enjoy the pizza over with Sean.
Are you happy with how Bitcoin's tracking?
Yeah, of course.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, from a tech point of view, you know, obviously there is some dissenting voices, as I touched on earlier. You know, with the likes of you know, Luke Dasher, who, you know, vehemently wants to reduce the block size. You know, you and I both know that. I mean, for me, it's kind of crazy to see this huge interest all of a sudden. Bitcoin's front page news again, but we also know that, you know, it has been this slowly approach from the core devs to make sure this thing actually works properly.
Yep.
Are you any nerves around some of those issues?
No issue, because I do run.
Too fast?
Yeah, I do run a couple of full nodes. So if anything happens, right, we can repopulate the world back with the Bitcoin network again. So it doesn't really matter. I mean, I have my own redundancy.
Look, here is the reality. You know, 99% of the people that heard you just say that have absolutely not a clue what you're talking about. I've spent 4 years writing articles on it, talking about it. It's frustrating for me. I sort of feel like, geez, do I just restart that whole effort explaining?
No. There's no
nodes and whatever.
People,
I'm like,
actually.
oh man,
yeah. You know what I always like to tell people? Bitcoin is just a big fuck you to the financial regime. It's as simple as it is. So it doesn't matter the tech. It doesn't matter what is it that people believe and so on. It doesn't matter what
is it, Dunstan. Is it? I mean, you know, for me, that if you know, we've both got a long digital record. You can go back and look at all the articles I've written, all the videos I've made, and it's something I talk about at length. It's there. I've never deleted any tweets. I've never deleted a video. I've never deleted an article. You know exactly who I am. But, you know, this sort of new crowd coming in, it is about that, you know, price skyrocketing, institutional adoption. I think many are sort of overlooking the core attributes of Bitcoin. It concerns me that is there some misalignment here as we move forward so rapidly?
Doesn't matter, actually. Bitcoin is Bitcoin, so it doesn't matter whether there's a misalignment, whether or not people think or they want it to become a certain thing, like what Bitcoin Jesus wanted to do and what Crackerite wanted to do. So yeah, it doesn't matter where they try to drag it. From what I'm looking at, Bitcoin is what it is, and I don't think. I mean, I can't predict the future like that.
Bitcoin Jesus and Craig Wright haven't heard much from those guys lately.
Yeah, I mean, right. Yeah, I mean, they are back licking their wounds. So
I'm not going to comment on that. I actually like both of them. I think
I do like them. You know, I do like them as human beings. I do like them as individuals, but it doesn't mean I agree with what they did. Yeah,
I disagree with that comment, Dunstan. I think what I love about this entire blockchain space is the ability to hard fork.
And that's why your name, right? So hard fork.
Totally. If you think you can do it better, hard fork it and do it. To me, that's what's attracted me to the space. I think with so many of our other systems, that opportunity was never there. That's why I've called this brand hard forking.
Yeah, I agree partially with you, actually, but I also do agree that, you know, it's based on the motives. If the motives is, you know, like improving, doing a better job, I do understand. But if it's ego, if it's getting like financial dominance and so on, and that's another thing altogether.
I'm going to call you out on this, Dunstan, because in the next show that we're going to do, we're going to talk about your involvement in Ethereum.
Yeah.
And Ethereum was not necessarily a hard fork of Bitcoin, but it was definitely Bitcoiners that wanted to do something different.
Yeah, it is.
With Bitcoin. They didn't hard fork the Bitcoin code, but they went off and did something different.
Yeah, they do an EMV, man.
And I know you're making some plays in that particular area. So we'll end this particular show here. For everyone watching this, maybe some of this has been a little bit over your head, but tune into the next one, and we're going to find out what Dunstan's up to in the Ethereum space. We've had a chat offline, and I'm utterly intrigued to hear more about this, Dunstan.
Yep, definitely.
I'm fascinated by Ethereum. You know, I guess in that show, I also want to talk to you about Bitcoin maximalism. I was a absolute hardcore Bitcoin maximalist for nearly 4 years. And apart from being a carnivore, that's the only thing I have in common with the maximalist now. I think it's a retarded position. I think there's awesome innovation happening on other blockchains, and anyone that's an out-and-out Bitcoin maximalist.
But like what we say has
you're fucking idiot. Sorry.
I only believe in the value of Bitcoin, but for any other blockchain, I do believe in their tech and what they're doing. It's not as if like I don't believe in the tech space. I am an architect in a couple of stuff. So yeah, but it doesn't mean that has a value.
You're a hardcore Bitcoin maximalist for a long time. I know you can't call yourself one now because I know some of the other.
No, I still am actually. I'm a fool.
You cannot be a Bitcoin maximalist, Dunstan, with some of the other things.
But what I'm doing is a capitalistic play. It's totally different.
Explain.
Yeah, I am meddling with other shitcoins, but it doesn't mean that they are not shitcoins to me. But Bitcoin is Bitcoin.
You've actually been pretty good tonight. You're generally talking riddles. That's the first riddle you've thrown at me. And look, Dunstan, you've given us a 30K Christmas Day call.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, right? If it hits 30K, well, at least I get my pizzas. If not, I'm going to give Sean 2 pizzas and whoever I bet with.
I'll buy you pizza for your lifetime if Bitcoin is 30K on Christmas Day.
Okay, that would be interesting. Then we definitely need to do something about the markets, bro.
All right, my friend, we're probably getting into a bit of it's extremely late here in Singapore, people. But I love chatting with you. Maybe we could meet up tomorrow and
Yeah, we can.
in the daylight hours. We'll have a chat offline about that. But look, I hope everyone watching maybe took something away from what we're talking about. I guess the most important thing was Dunstan's.
Please buy Bitcoin, man.
30K by Christmas.
I hope so.
Do you think we're going lower now, though?
A bit.
Just a bit.
Maybe around 18.6 to 18.7. Not much lower.
What happens if it goes to 14K? You just lose all credibility. You can never come on my show again.
No, it's fine, man. If it goes to 14K, I'm gonna buy every Bitcoin that goes to 14K.
Sure, I'll be hitting you up for a loan, actually. I'll be diving in there as well.
So I hope it ever goes to 14K. I see.
All right, you heard it there, people. Dunstan's calling 30K. It's actually one of the bigger Christmas calls we've had on the show.
Right?
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, sir.
Cool.
Maybe we'll catch you tomorrow in person. Cool. Thank you for watching, everyone. Bit of a ramble between two mates, but maybe you found something of value there.
So.
If not, go and watch some other crap YouTube channel where they talk a load of nonsense and shill your shit coins.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, please do.
If not, come back to this channel. Thank you, Dunstan.
Thank you, Sean.
With you, mate.
Always love it.
Cheers, brother.
Yeah, take care, bro. Okay, bye.